You know what the worst part of dating is? Too many women, not enough time. Am I right, fellas? Well, the same goes for fighting games. You open one up and you're immediately confronted with a whole roster of nearly 30 playable bachelors and bachelorettes. But how do you know which ones are worth your time? Well, I'm here with a comprehensive breakdown of each and every Guilty Gear Strive character to make your dating life much, much easier. So sit back and relax, because we're gonna be speed dating. Up first is Soul Bad Guy, a small-time lawyer from Albuquerque who found himself in some hot water when he had a run-in with a high school... Sorry, that's Saul Goodman. Who is this? Soul Bad Guy is coming into this game with probably the stupidest name in the entire franchise. And that is really saying a lot. Especially for a series where one character's name is Answer, another character's name is a literal question, and another's is Gold Lewis Dickinson. What? Change your name, the Bad Guy family? Did they even let you register to vote with a name like that? That'd be like if I tried enrolling into a high school with the name Danny Terrorist. Soul looks like a motorcycle came to life and became a male stripper. Free? Free what? Dick? Don't put free over your crotch and wrap yourself in leather belts if you don't want people making assumptions about your prices. He also looks like he uses a lawnmower to blow dry his hair. This is one of those anime characters whose hairstyle looks cool at first glance, but then gets more ridiculous the longer you stare at it. It's like a bowl cut mixed with a wolf cut and a ponytail so long he could floss his ass cheeks with it. Look at him just standing there, rolling his entire body. Oh, Danny, don't make fun of Soul. He's a tough guy. He'll beat you up. Oh yeah, nice Velcro shoes there, tough guy. What's the matter, laces too tricky for ya? His first attack is Gun Flame, which is a projectile that knocks the opponent down and leaves Soul at an advantage if the opponent blocks it. He can also do Gun Flame Feint, because what's a male stripper if not a tease? Volcanic Viper is Soul's anti-air, which launches him into the sky with a flaming uppercut. This move is invincible on startup, which makes it a great way to counter your opponent's attacks. Bandit Revolver sounds like Soul's gay cowboy romance novel, but is actually a lunging attack. Yeah, I bet there's a lot of lunging going on in the novel version of this move too. This move causes him to leap across the screen with a series of kicks and can be followed up with the A button to extend the attack. Bandit Bringer, which is just like two words smashed together. Are you the bandit or are you bringing it? Is an overhead attack in which Soul leaps into the air and smashes down on the opponent. Wild Throw is a high damaging grab in which Soul grabs the opponent by the chest and throws him out of his saloon like the dive bar bouncer that he is. Night Raid Vortex, crazy name, causes Soul to slide across the ground before knocking the opponent in the air. This move is great because not only does it create an opportunity for combos, but it also acts as a great gap closer while evading high attacks. You also just feel sick doing it. This is one of those moves that makes Soul a character that you just are never having a bad time playing. Finally, Soul's last special move is Fafnir, a lunging attack with quick recovery and advantage on block. Soul's first overdrive is Tyrant Rave, which surprisingly doesn't involve any glow sticks, dictators, or anything else you'd expect at a Tyrant's Rave. He basically just hits the opponent with an uppercut, and then swings his big dumb lighter at them. His other overdrive has him transform into a demon, gaining invincibility as he lunges forward and grabs the opponent for massive damage. Soul wants to get in that ass. I meant close the gap. Most of his attacks have some sort of lunge attached to them, giving him an absolutely vicious playstyle. He's a great, brutal all-arounder with plenty of options to get in your opponent's space. He may charge, but at least he doesn't charge. Up next is Kai Kisuke with his big rubber sword. Kai Kisuke is a name that sounds like it'd be in the bio of Puss in Boots' dating profile. I am Puss in Boots. I hug and Kai Kisuke. Kai wants to be Soul so bad. He's trying so hard to look cool and failing at every turn. He looks like a nurse on his way to a Christian rock concert. And no, cutting the sleeves off of your scrubs doesn't make you look any less like a physician's assistant. Real subtle church pants, you nerd. What did your youth pastor give you those? And either put your jacket on or take it off. Stop with this half and half nonsense. What? Do you not want people knowing that you actually regret cutting your sleeves off in the middle of November? Kai's got a lot of rush down like Soul, but where Soul's game plan is to rush you down and then deliver a few powerful bursts of damage, Kai's goal is to rush you down and stick to you. Several of his special moves send the opponent into a shock state, which enhances the damage of follow-up special moves. The opponent also takes increased chip damage while blocking specials in this state. Kai's first special move is Stun Edge, which fires a projectile that puts the opponent into a shock state. This attack can also be performed in the air with 2 different trajectories. Charged Stun Edge is the same thing but with a longer startup and multiple hits. His next attack is Stun Dipper. What? Kai, you're a dip. You wanna be cool, Kai? Then don't name any of your attacks Dipper. You don't see Soul running around calling any of his moves Hellhopper. Stun Dipper is a short-range lunge attack, which hits as a low and can avoid high attacks. His next special is a leaping attack that hits the opponent from above and leaves Kai at an advantage if the opponent blocks. Vapor Thrust is an anti-air attack that's invincible on startup, making it great for interrupting opponents' block strings. Finally, Dire Eclat is a forward slash that absolutely fucking rocks your opponent. This is a burst of power that comes completely out of nowhere, and kinda gives off the energy of a nerd who's finally snapped after getting bullied all semester. I said enough! Kai's first overdrive is Ride the Lightning, which has an absolutely insane cool name to lame move ratio. It's just like a big bubble that charges forward. Yeah, it's good, but I'm not here for good, I'm here for cool. I'm here to know the smell of the game, you know what I mean? And this ain't it. It is a pretty good move though, with an incredibly fast startup and invincibility as the attack comes out. Sacred Edge is somehow even lamer because I swear to God it's just a charged stun edge in disguise. Kai's last overdrive is Dragon Install, in which he actually does something fucking cool for once. At low health, Kai can transform into a solo leveling cover art, strengthening each of his special moves significantly. Look, I know I'm ragging on Kai a lot, but I do really like his gameplay philosophy. His shock state mechanic encourages players to keep their pressure high by chaining special moves together for massive damage. He's like playing a drug addict as you become addicted to sending your opponent in a never-ending loop of shock states and high damage. He's a perfect parallel to Soul's combat, where Soul feels like a character who maxed out his strength, Kai feels like a character who maxed out his dex. Nagoriyuki is the coolest character that I will never be good with. Oh, sounds like Danny just needs to get good. Well, I won't! This guy's design, abilities, and gimmick are all awesome. I mean, look at him. He looks like he should be the final boss of Cyberpunk 2077. But I just don't have the confidence to play a character like this. My playstyle ranges somewhere between wimpy defensiveness and blind stupid aggression. But Nagoriyuki's a character that requires a level of confidence and finesse that I simply do not have. He's incredibly slow. So much so that he's actually incapable of running. You see what I mean? This man is so confident he won't even break into a jog for me. He said, "You wanna run? Go play chip. I'ma take my time." He's so confident that even the game is afraid of him. If Nagoriyuki starts doing too well, the game will actually chip in and start to help the opponent kill him. Nagoriyuki has a blood rage meter that fills with successful special attacks. When the gauge fills, Nagoriyuki will transform, without your consent, mind you, and the man's health bar will just start fucking leaking. On the plus side, the range and damage of his normal attacks increases, but on the negative side, because I guess dying rapidly without your permission wasn't a big enough penalty, he also loses access to all of his special moves. He can end this transformation early by performing the overdrive Zensetsu, but regardless, this is a gimmick that terrifies me. I don't hate the idea of it. I mean, I love when my opponent just starts dying in front of me, that's sick. But it does cement this character as someone I will never even attempt to learn. Anyway, his first special move is Zarameyuki, which sends a clone of himself forwards as a projectile which can be followed up with other special moves during its animation. Kimurayuki is a lunge attack that knocks the opponent on the ground and can be followed up with other special moves on block or hit, which makes it a great tool for applying pressure. Shizurayuki is an anti-air attack with upper body invincibility, and can be followed up with another attack by pressing its activation button again. Blood-Sucking Universe, holy fuck, somehow isn't a German death metal band, but instead a command grab, in which Nagoriyuki tears a chunk out of his opponent's neck with his teeth like the 7-foot-tall robo-samurai vampire that he is. God, this guy is so fucking cool. This attack heals Nagoriyuki and lowers the blood rage gauge, which makes it either his best or most frustrating attack depending on who's doing the biting. Fukyo is an incredibly appropriately named teleporting move, because if you think you're safe at the other end of the screen, then Fukyo safety! This move increases the blood gauge and can be followed up with other special moves. Nagoriyuki's main overdrive is cool as hell. That's not what it's called, but it might as well be. It starts with this close-up on his sword, and you see this crazy design in the steel. And then he knocks the opponent into the air and slashes them a million times before leaving this awesome art piece behind him. It's sick. He's sick. God, he's so cool. And he actually does feel great to play, with all the special moves feeding into each other, making you feel like a proper samurai, flowing one attack into the next. He's awesome. And even though I am terrible with him in online matches, I am very happy that he's here. Up next is Milia Rage, who's out here making the scoliosis community really feel seen. Hey man, some people like an hourglass, some people like a pear. I like a girl with that ostrich body, you know what I'm saying? I want a girl I could ride through some sand dunes, you know what I mean? She's the forbidden hair assassin, although seemingly not a very good one considering she's got all these split ends. What, you couldn't have got a trim before this? You're the only hair character, you can't be showing up with dead ends. Honestly, there isn't really much to say about Milia's character design. She's like a Russian prime minister's daughter with a bunch of hair. She's kind of like a sexy Potemkin, I guess. Which may be an oxymoron, depending on your feelings towards Potemkin. Although I will say her coat is a little more confusing than it appears to be at first glance. Because at first you think it's this thick, like deer hide dress sort of thing. Then you see her do a big stretch and it's like, wait a second, why is this thing skin tight? This girl must have a bullet wound for a belly button if I could see it under like 5 inches of thick fabric. Milia isn't your typical hair foo character. She doesn't just whip her hair around. She can turn it into a rose, braid it into a spear, become the moon. Bitch, who is your stylist? A fucking Green Lantern? Milia's first special move is Bad Moon, because yes, the hell it is. This is an aerial attack in which Milia turns into a crescent moon and comes crashing down on the opponent like she's cosplaying the plot of Majora's Mask. This move has an incredibly fast startup, and since it almost doubles the thickness of her character model, almost comes at your opponent like a jump scare. Her second special is Turbo Fall, which I guess technically isn't lying. It makes Milia fall from the sky, except turbo. I'm pretty sure the logistics and physics of this animation make no sense, but almost in a way that it kind of tricks me into thinking this could work. Like, this animation makes such little sense, I think, that my brain actually does a 360 move, going from believing it to not believing it to believing it again. This is a good move for mixing up your opponent and keeping them from guessing the momentum of your jumping arcs. Tandem Top sounds like a sex move my girlfriend and I aren't ready for yet, and is one of Milia's coolest moves. This attack sends out a large projectile that hovers in the air for a short period. The Y version of this move has a fast startup, but the B version has a delayed one and knocks the opponent down on hit. This attack is so cool because Milia can attack while the projectile is active, adding a ton of pressure to her kit. Iron Savior is a sliding low attack with fast recovery, making it a solid gap closer. Speaking of gap closers, Milia also has a move called Mirage, which causes her to dash forward and even through opponents. Lust Shaker sounds like a sex move my partner and I are absolutely ready for, and it involves Milia drilling the opponent into submission with a series of thrusts. On second thought, this move lasts longer the faster you tap, and deals a fair amount of chip damage to blocking opponents. Capel is an aerial attack in which Milia creates a projectile beneath her, flying up from the recoil. This is sort of a similar move to Turbo Fall in that it helps Milia trick the opponent by mixing up the timing of her jump-in. Milia's first overdrive is Winger, which is a vertical lunging attack that has a fast startup and can be used in combos for massive damage. Her second overdrive is Septum Voices, which is a fast-starting, multi-hitting projectile with such good recovery that Milia can start moving and attacking before the move's even finished. Milia's the mix-up queen, constantly phasing through her opponent, changing her falling speeds, and making your enemy hula hoop without their consent. Milia's all about applying pressure and repositioning herself while her opponent tries to score at least third in this week's hula competition. She's super fun and incredibly versatile, even if her ends are getting a little nasty. Up next is Chip, who looks like some kind of parasite hatching out of a leather egg. He's got 2 giant sea cucumbers for arms and a tank top leather jacket that looks like it's trying to swallow him whole. Can we all just take a second to appreciate the fact that Chip's wearing a sleeveless turtleneck leather jacket? How do you even manage to fuck up fashion that badly? And what are all these straps for? He looks like he's welded into this fucking thing. Not to mention, this is the most roided out ninja I have ever seen. You think Goku solos the entire Naruto universe? Chip benches it. How are you gonna be a ninja looking this huge? Huh? Did you ever think of that? Good luck completing any stealth missions when your target can hear the protein powder spilling out of your pockets from a mile away. Oh, but he's so cool and edgy. Yeah, nothing screams cool and edgy like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Disk for a weapon and the name Chip. Brutal, roasting aside, Chip is probably one of the most fun fighting game characters ever created. That is, if speed's what you're looking for at least. His first move is Alpha Blade, in which Chip vanishes before performing a surprise lunge attack. Chip ends up behind the opponent at the end of this move, making it possible to catch a blocking opponent off guard. He can also perform this move diagonally, which is great for catching your opponent in the air. Beta Blade, Let It Rip, is Chip's uppercut attack, which is invincible on startup and will knock away opponents that block this move in the air, making it incredibly difficult to punish. Gamma Blade is Chip's shadow clone jutsu, in which he sends a clone of himself out to do his dirty work for him. What's funny about this move is that it technically does and doesn't give Chip a ranged option, seeing as how Chip takes damage when the clone does. So if you think about it, that kinda makes this a melee attack. Up next is Chip's bread and butter Rushao, or however that's pronounced, which is his main combo maker. This is a lunge attack that can be followed up with Rokusai, which is a second move that can be followed up with Senchu. These three attacks together create a string that starts with a mid, follows up with a low, and ends in an overhead. This string is great because you can either go mid-low overhead, or straight into mid-overhead to really mix up your opponent. Chip also has a command grab. Because why not? Just give him everything. Why not, right? Fuck it. I mean, why not just let him run up the side of the... Wall run allows Chip to run up the side of the screen and attack any mid-air opponent. Jesus Christ, what? Next you're gonna tell me Chip has 3 jumps. Fuck! Finally, Chip has an actual ranged attack, which can only be performed in the air. This move is really slow and doesn't do all of that much damage, so it's mainly good for slowing your jump patterns and throwing your opponent off their rhythm. Chip's first overdrive is a highly damaging lunging attack that can catch opponents from an entire screen away. The startup to this attack is fairly slow, but the payoff is incredibly damaging. But if you want something with a little less damage but a much quicker startup to weave between combos with, then the Bankai Mesai is exactly what you're looking for. Chip is one of the most relentless characters in the game, which is probably where he got his name from. First named Chip because your opponent's gonna be blocking the entire time, terrified of where you're gonna show up next, and Enough because he doesn't fucking let up. Chip, that's enough! Finally, we have Mei, which the game calls a relentless girl. And honestly, I think that's putting it kinda lightly. Mei's a little jellyfish girl and your worst fucking nightmare. Not only does Mei wield a full-sized anchor as her weapon, but she's also got most sea creatures watching her back. You better hope June and July treat you well, cause Mei's gonna be giving you hell! Fighting against Mei feels like you're fighting the union rep for the Sea Creatures Guild of America. We want better wages and more snacks, but we pay you in snacks! But the true reason Mei is categorized as Relentless Girl is because Mr. Dolphin is a fucking bastard. Mei's first special move is Mr. Dolphin. If anyone's got any questions about my feelings about him, I'd like to refer you to my previous joke. Look, Mei's got her entire local aquarium simping for her, but Mr. Dolphin is by far the worst offender. You need him, he's there. He's there in an instant. The only reason there isn't a Mrs. Dolphin is because Mr. D's gotta be on call for this 13-year-old menace at a moment's notice. This is a lunging attack in Mei's bread and butter. Activating this move with triangle results in a fast startup but long recovery, and activating it with the B button results in slow startup but short recovery. Mei can also perform a vertical version of this move because Mr. Dolphin will truly do anything for this girl. Mei's next move is Overhead Kiss, which thankfully isn't a real kiss because otherwise Mr. Dolphin would start throwing fins. It's a command grab. What do you want from me? She grabs you and then it hurts. There's only so much to say about that. Her next special move causes a well-dressed, nearsighted walrus to pop out of the ground and throw a beach ball at your opponent. Relax, Mr. Dolphin, he's just a friend. This is Mei's ranged option and is good for keeping your opponents checked at a distance. Mei's first overdrive is honestly probably the coolest move in the entire game. Mei summons a giant whale to just fucking do whatever a whale does. Just shows up and exists for a bit, and you know what? That's enough. This thing is awesome, and a true display of Mei's raw might. Second overdrive is pretty tame in comparison. She summons a much smaller whale to do a much smaller version of what the big whale did. Nice going, Arxis, really setting Mr. Orca up for failure. I mean, it's good. It's no big whale though. What makes Mei so relentless is the fact that half of her moves have incredibly fast startup times, and the other half have super short recovery windows. Which means your opponent never really knows when it's safe to punish you unless they're completely familiar with your moveset. But here's a good rule of thumb. If Mr. Dolphin came out fast, you can punish. If he didn't, then don't. But it's a little hard to discern what is and isn't a fast startup when you're being pelted by a barrage of sea life. If you like instilling the fear of God in your opponent while also wearing the flyest pair of Doc Martens, then Mei's your gal. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm sorry I only got to 6 characters in this game. They're all fairly dense in terms of their movesets, and also, Guilty Gear is kind of an old game, so this is a bit of an experiment video. I think I'm gonna keep doing these videos in chunks of 6, so if you want to see parts 2, 3, and 4, make sure you like this video, make sure you share it around, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And while you're at it, make sure you check out my Street Fighter Characters Explained video on this same channel, and my review of Diablo 4. And I will see you guys next time.